everyone, welcome back again. And well, Natalie already did a video here, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I finally finished the dining room table, so now we get to sit at it. But we'll have to clean the rest of the house up so that we can sit in different orientations, I suppose. But today we're gonna kind of talk about the doctor, actually, our reproductive endocrinologist. Well, not him, but kind of how we knew. How would you put it?
How we knew that he was kind of the right fit for us, how we knew that the clinic was kind of a clinic we should stick with, and kind of how to know, if you found a good doctor, and if you're satisfied with the clinic moving forward.
This is weird. You're like eye height with me, no? Instead of being way below me.
So I guess the first thing that we really liked and appreciated from our doctor was he had already done his research. So when we showed up, he already, looked at all my notes, looked at everything that we sent him, and knew, my background. He knew my background with my losses. He knew, all the testing that I had done. So we went in and, we kind of briefly touched upon this, I think in the intro video, that, we got in, sat down, and he said, why are you here? And, we kind of started telling the story, and that's when he was like, I don't need that. That's all in your chart. Like, I read all that.
I think he literally said, I don't care.
Yeah. Which, you may think, and you liked him, but at that point, we've been through, we went through losses, and we went through, obviously different doctors, and it just got to the point where it was frustrating, having to rehash everything, go through the story again, and essentially waste our time, his time. So it was nice going in and kind of just jumping into, what he thought, we should do, and more testing that he wanted to do, and, how to proceed. And then we also liked that he was very straightforward. There was no beating around the bush. There was no, him sugarcoating things. He said what it was. He gave us his honest opinion on everything, and we appreciated that, because honestly, when we first said, we would pursue, IVF, and that's why we went to see our reproductive endocrinologist, I thought that we would go in there and that, they would be pushing IVF. And honestly, it wasn't pushed once. We were the ones who were kind of like, we want to do IVF. We want to do IVF. And he was kind of at the stamp where he was like, well, you got pregnant, why are you here type of deal. You don't really need the help. And we appreciated that, because we never felt like we were pushed in any way.
Yeah, literally not at all. The other thing too, and Natalie said that we might do a video later on about kind of all the dumb things that people have said to us through the losses, and then everything else just now since. But we encountered one really odd one. So this guy, one of the things we really liked about him was he asked pertinent questions. And that probably sounds ridiculous, because people are probably thinking, well, he's a doctor, he's only supposed to ask pertinent questions. And Natalie's mother watches the videos, so we have to preempt this by saying that 100% this is definitely not the case. But after the first loss, we went to see a doctor, and that particular doctor asked Natalie some questions, and Natalie indicated that both, and I've made comments about this in other videos, I don't think I've told the whole story, but Natalie made the comment that both she and her brother were very small babies. And the doctor looked at us and asked if Natalie's mother was on cocaine. And you're looking, and I'll never forget that moment, because I think I chuckled at the time. I'm seriously sitting there going, this is not relevant whatsoever. Clearly, even if she was on cocaine, it would not have impacted Natalie's pregnancy.
Yeah.
So, pay attention to that type of stuff. If you've got a doctor, and some people may like that, if you really enjoy humor, and
kind of like, I don't think she was being humorous. She seemed like she was being serious.
I don't know, maybe I don't know. I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. But the fact of the matter was, this guy only asked very pertinent questions. So when Natalie, he asked the exact same questions that the other doctor did, but his response after Natalie told him that she and her brother were both very small babies, immediately went literally down a path of extra questions. And that is, I think that's the reason why Natalie ended up with an actual real diagnosis, her blood clotting diagnosis.
Yeah.
Had he not asked those pertinent questions, there's no way, I mean, we wouldn't even have brought them up, I don't think.
Not at that point, because he was a reproductive endocrinologist, so at that point, we just wanted to, get pregnant again, as fast as possible. And the doctor that he was referring to, who asked, kind of that silly question, that was MFM. So, that was kind of an expertise in the field of, what could go wrong in a pregnancy. And so I would have never really brought up those types of details to her, just because, that we already saw a specialist for that. And, I wasn't really looking for those type of answers from him. The other thing that we really liked about him is, he tailored his approach, to us specifically, for us specifically. So, the clinic wasn't like, oh, everyone who's doing IVF is on this protocol, this medication, this dose, this time frame. It was very geared towards us, towards, my particular case, obviously, through, ultrasounds and things like that he did. He even found out on, one of the ultrasounds that I still had fetal remnants. So obviously, he had to take care of that first, because you can't transfer an embryo if, there's still remaining pregnancy.
And I would hope that most reproductive endocrinologists would do that. I would hope that it's not a one size fits all. We would hope.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, well, we can only tell you our experience, but he was really good about that, and talked us through and told us why he was doing everything. The other thing too was he was constantly available, and it wasn't just him. So the way this particular office was set up, they had 2 reproductive endocrinologists. I think now they have more, but they have 2 reproductive endocrinologists. One is like a super expert. I would put him in that field maybe, or in that side of the world. I don't know. And then then they have the other guy who's also an expert, but they have 2 offices. One does everything, and one just kind of does the preparatory stuff. So by the everything, that was our Winston-Salem office. In both of them, the doctors were available by text and phone all the time. So there was one situation where we had to contact him way late at night, and I think that was a Saturday. And then the other one was a holiday, and it was like 5:30 in the morning. And we got messages back immediately. We got phone calls back immediately, all the time, constantly available.
Yeah.
So, that's huge. Since we've had that, I don't know if we could live without that with any doctor. It's nuts.
We were definitely spoiled. But I think, it's important, because when you're going through IVF especially, there's so many things that are time sensitive. So one of the instances where we had to reach out was before the transfer. I had started spotting, and so I immediately reached out, and they immediately, saw me that day to check the lining. And then he even called, because I want to say that was a Saturday, and then my transfer was that Monday, and he even called me Sunday night beforehand to kind of check in and say, did anything change since we saw you last, and did the spotting lesson, and then basically kind of reassured me and said, everything that he saw on the ultrasound, the day before, everything was perfect, and I shouldn't worry, that the spotting, didn't affect anything, and that we're still, still have the green light for the transfer, which I thought was really nice and reassuring, because one, we were already told that, but then for him to kind of call us again, I'm sure he knows that, it's nerve-wracking. You obviously want the transfer to be successful. So for him to kind of take that extra step and, call us the night before and be like, hey, I'm not concerned at all. Don't worry. Don't let this, keep you up at night, was really nice. And then the other thing that I want to mention, in general, if you go to, meet with a reproductive endocrinologist, go to a fertility clinic, there were 2 main clinics here in the Charlotte area, that we, reached out to, but it's hard, to get in. And so we were on the waiting list for both of them. And, when we saw, the clinic that we went with, originally before we went in, we had talked, and we said, oh, well, we'll kind of sit down with both and, kind of, hear what both, offices have to say, both providers. But after we met, with our doctor, we kind of said, what's the point? We already know that we really like him. We already felt really confident in him. And to me it was, why see what else is out there? Because then, you might be in a situation where, if you like them both, then you have to make the decision, well, which one? And then at the end of the day, let's say it didn't work out, then you could always, the way I saw it is, if I loved two providers. If I chose one of them and let's say the cycle didn't work and it wasn't successful, then I would always be kicking myself saying, well, I should have gone with the other one. So I didn't even want to, put myself in that situation. Now, obviously, if you go to an office and you don't feel comfortable or you're kind of like, I don't know, definitely, talk to someone else because you want to feel comfortable. I mean, it's a lot of money. And even if, your insurance covers it, I mean, it's time. I mean, and if you're pursuing IVF, I mean, you've already lost a lot of time, and, we know how it is. You want a baby immediately. So you definitely don't want to waste time or money at that point. And then so for us, we kind of, throughout the whole process, we always talked, if it doesn't work, would we jump ship or would we, do it again with, our current clinic and our current provider? And we always said, we would 100% stick with our doctor and stick with the clinic. We would not, jump ship. And I think that's important. And I think, before you move forward, you should ask yourself that, would you do it again if it didn't work with the same provider? And if you're like, I don't know, maybe I'd probably try someone else, then I don't think it's the right clinic or the right provider for you. Because like I said, you want to be very confident so that at the end of the day, you're not, saying, oh, I should have gone with my gut feeling. I didn't feel comfortable. So that's kind of my biggest advice.
And we haven't shared the clinic name, obviously. I don't know. If somebody reaches out to you, would you tell them the clinic name?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the Charlotte area and you want to know, I mean, how obviously.
Or Winston-Salem, I guess.
Yeah, I would obviously tell you. I just don't know if I want to be,
publicize it. So, but again, if you would like to know, or you'd like to know other specific things, but this group was fantastic. I mean, of all the groups that we've come across, I think by far the best, most professional, most capable for sure. But we're trying to figure out, we've been talking, and we're trying to figure out also kind of like how to help guide not only the IVF portion of it, but obviously there are many things that come afterwards. So we're going to have a couple of videos just to kind of guide people through some of the decisions, and even in our case, possibly some of the mistakes that we went through. We don't want anybody else to encounter the same things. So, but until then, thanks for joining. Please let us know if you have any questions in the comments below, and until next time.